Hi, everybody. We are back with Ungifted. We are in the middle of Chapter 6, Uncredited. We are on page 69, and it's from the perspective of Mr. Osborne. They are talking as teachers, and they can't find anything that Donovan is good at. So right now in the robotics team, all he's doing is Googling images that he can tape to Tin Man. A convulsive, high-pitched cackling filled the lab. When I went to investigate, I found Donovan at the keyboard and Noah peering over his shoulder, holding onto it, in fact, hysterical with laughter. Noah never laughed. He had a stratospheric IQ with few common sense skills and zero sense of humor. His thinking was lightning fast and flawlessly accurate, but also 100% literal. I barely recognized him, convulsed with mirth, breathing hard, his face bright pink. What is it? Look, he pointed at the screen, bereft of speech. On the screen, a brief video clip showed a barefoot man walking along the edge of a pool. He stubbed his toe on a rubber dog bone and tumbled, arms flailing, into the water. Noah pounded on the desk, choking. Chloe appeared at my elbow. It's called YouTube, Noah. It's the latest thing, Donovan added 10 years ago. That's YouTube? Noah was incredulous. I've heard of it, obviously, but I never... Who's the actor? He's brilliant. I really believe that he fell into the pool by accident. I sighed. Of course a kid like Noah had never explored YouTube before. When he got on a computer, most of us couldn't imagine what he was capable of. What he wasn't capable of were ordinary things. He's not an actor, I explained patiently. He's a regular person. Anyone can post a home video on YouTube. He was wide-eyed. Anyone? And anyone can watch it, Donovan confirmed. Noah may have started the day a YouTube novice, but by the end of the period, he could have written a doctoral dissertation on it. Such was the power of his intellect. He took Donovan's seat at the computer and disappeared into the site, reappearing only occasionally to explain the math behind his estimate of the total number of videos, over 800 million, or the amount of time it would take to watch them all, more than 600 years. Assuming an average duration of 20 to 25 seconds each, he concluded, I'll be more precise when I've had a few weeks to study it. Way to go, Abigail told Donovan savagely. Noah should be curing diseases and changing the world, not watching some dimwit fall in his pool. Give the guy a break from his brain, Donovan argued. When was the last time anybody saw him psyched about something? I had to give Donovan that. For all Noah's incredible abilities, the boy would fail out of school if his teachers were to let him. Donovan alone had managed to engage him. Could that be a kind of giftedness in and of itself? Regardless, Donovan had succeeded in running through yet another class without yielding the slightest hint as to why he was at the academy. Of all the kids in my homeroom, Chloe was the one most taken with Donovan. It was a crush, not so much on Donovan himself as what he represented, normal middle school life. She peppered him with questions about parties and school spirits and big games and pep rallies. I wasn't really into that stuff, Donovan told her. He was reluctant to talk about his experiences at Hardcastle Middle. Something must have gone on there that I couldn't quite put my finger on. He seemed anxious to put the past behind him, anxious enough to ignore the obvious signs that he wasn't fitting in here. Had he been bullied? A lot of our students suffered at their old schools, but Donovan didn't seem like the type. Chloe would not be put off. Well, there must have been parties, she reasoned. Dances, that kind of thing. I think it's a pathetic waste of time, Abigail chimed in. Can you imagine having nothing better to do than bounce around a school gym to bad music, under cheap streamers and a cheesy rented disco ball? Don't we all have better things to do? No argument from me, said Donovan. Nothing pleased Abigail less than being agreed with by Donovan. Hey, you guys, do something funny. Noah waved at us from behind a flip video camera. This is for YouTube. The kids ignored him, but I felt it was important to support Noah's new interest. For all his brilliance, Noah spent his life in a kind of cocoon. Pointing a flip cam at people was as close as he got to social interaction. What about Tin Man? I suggested. He looks like a YouTube star to me. Abigail was horrified. That is a terrible idea. We'd be showing the other teams exactly what we're working on for the robotics meet. I chuckled. It's supposed to be a friendly competition, Abigail, not a life and death struggle. Never try to tell Abigail to take it easy. The results of that meet go on your permanent record, she insisted. There could be college admissions on the line, maybe even scholarships. And if that's not a life and death struggle, I don't know what is. This could be the year we finally defeat Cold Spring Harbor and win it all. Do you want to risk that? Eventually, we shouted her down. If Cold Spring Harbor found our little clip among 600 years of videos of YouTube, they deserve to beat us again. And anyway, some of the kids were already rolling Tin Man Metallica SquarePants out into the middle of the room. I had to admit, our latest creation was taking shape. No credit to me. Everything had come from the kids. Abigail and Chloe provided the design, and Noah did all the programming. The boy had never watched YouTube, but he could think in computer code. Kevin was our welding and soldering expert. JC and Luttrell built the body, and there, large as life on the Tin Man's chest, was Albert Einstein eating a banana, courtesy of Donovan. There were other graphics too: a cat with a mohawk, the fiery eye of Sauron from the Lord of the Rings movies, the flag of Mozambique, and a bumper sticker that read, Office of New York City Rat Catcher. Noah brandished the flip cam, and Abigail worked the joystick, sending our work in progress on its first trial run. The robot was capable of moving on its own, following a route marked by colored lines on the floor. But the most important rounds of the competition required a human driver. I watched carefully, taking special note of the wheels, which were a new type for us. Last year, Cold Spring Harbor had used mechanism wheels, which gave them extra maneuverability. But on Tin Man, I couldn't see much of a difference. Hold it. I got down on all fours and examined the bearings to make sure mechanisms had a full range of motion. The problem's not the wheels, put in Donovan, it's the driver. Abigail glared at him. What do you know about robotics? Nothing, he replied in honesty, but I can use a joystick. Don't you guys play video games? I'd like to see you do better. And with a casual shrug, he held out his hands for the controller. Eyes shooting sparks, Abigail relinquished it, and Donovan put Tin Man through his paces. I watched in amazement. The robot fairly danced around the lab, the lift mechanism moving easily. The mechanisms worked like magic, changing directions instantly with a flick of Donovan's wrist. The kids broke into cheers. They mobbed Donovan, begging him to be our operator at the meet, all except Abigail. She stood rooted to the floor, fuming. Got it. Noah lowered his camera and ran for the computer to upload his very first YouTube video. And me? Well, I was thrilled for the team and tantalized at the prospect of finally giving Cold Spring Harbor a run for their money. But I also realized that my chief problem was no closer to a solution. Being good with the joystick because of hundreds of hours playing video games was not the kind of talent that got a student into the Academy for Academic Distinction. What was Donovan Curtis doing in the gifted program? And we'll stop there.